reason things are expensive in this world is because people like you invest, hoard, and move things up at the expense of homeless people. I don't think if you're homeless, you're going to be concerned about the price of Magic cards, right? At least I don't think I would be, but I would be kind of concerned about food and shelter, but I don't know, maybe they get penises in their face? I'm not really sure. At one point, this channel is going to get so big, this scumbag is going to be able to control the Magic market and the video game market. This guy in the future is probably going to manipulate everything. This is my personal assumption, but again, I am high as hell, and I am naked in my backyard as I type this message. I don't think that's a attack towards me. I just think that's funny, and I wanted to add that. That's pretty fun. Rude dude! Rude boy. I don't know which Rudy I'm talking to, creepy or homeless Rudy, but you clearly come across a complete douchebag. I don't trust you at all, and I hope one day your balls get so big you can't walk. There's a lot of ball comments. Do you guys get like the feeling that, I mean, maybe in Russia it's something there? I don't really know. I'm not really sure what the ball comments. Rudy, you're such an idiot. You throw things around for no reason. You clearly have no passion, and you don't even believe the dribble that drips out of your spewing dribble. Am I dribbling? Huh, I didn't know I was dribbling. Anyways, Rudy, why the fuck is this shitty Magic channel and this guy who clearly can't even afford a haircut is in my recommended feed on YouTube? What is wrong with the internet? Hashtag YouTube is broken. This guy has to be the worst YouTuber ever. Take note, everybody watching this video. If you want to make a good video, a good YouTube channel, watch this guy on YouTube named Rudy, and then literally do the exact opposite of what this guy does. Rudy, so this is the idiot on the internet sitting in a room full of Khans of Tarkir Magic boxes, telling everybody to buy Khans instead of Eternal Masters. Oh my god, this guy is the sloppiest penis on the internet. I hate this guy so much. I drive down the road and I can't stand this guy. This Rudy guy has to be the biggest idiot on the internet. Someone who respects Magic or video games will not throw anything around and not treat everybody on the internet like trash. Not only that, this Rudy guy is clearly planning a marketing scheme that is very sketchy, tisk tisk at whatever pyramid Amway type of Herbalife scam he's running. Does this seem like a pyramid scheme to you guys? Maybe it is, because more people who subscribe on YouTube, it grows like a pyramid. I hate this guy so much. Oh, I just read that one, right? Anyways, this guy makes me think of one of those 80s pump and dump Wall Street guys. He talks down Eternal Master Magic cards just so he can buy more. I don't know, I think this Rudy guy is a definite scumbag. He clearly doesn't have any balls, and if he did have balls, somebody must have stolen his balls at some point in time. Why are there so many comments about balls? Like, I know my demographics like 95, 98% male, but does everybody have a problem with their balls? Like, is that like a big thing nowadays? Are there a lot of like ball problems? Like, do you lose one of your balls? Or do you have 3 balls? Like, is there something going on with the ball thing? Huh. Anyway. Alright. So, no beef with this Rudy guy. But this dude has got to be a completely stupid idiot. He is the biggest complete wrong idiot. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. He is so wrong about Eternal Master booster boxes. Everybody should be buying Eternal Master boxes, even at $300 a box, because the expected value is $400 to $500. This guy named Rudy telling people not to buy Eternal Masters and telling everyone to buy Khans. This is what happens when your name is Rudy, you live in a basement at your parents' house, and you eat hamsters all night. Don't listen to him and don't buy Khans. I don't think I've ever tried eating a hamster. That's kind of disturbing to me. Would you guys eat a hamster? I don't think I would. There's not really it's not like chicken, but I guess everything tastes like chicken, right? This dude on the internet named Rudy at Alpha Investments is the biggest asshole, and I'm posting this on the internet, and I have a girlfriend who has a huge ass. Well, you could have included a picture of your girlfriend. I mean, if you're going to compare me being an asshole to your girlfriend's ass, it's kind of a letdown. At least show me. God, dude, come on, think that out. This dude is so fucking annoying. His videos are over dramatized, spelled wrong, and he flips out over it's all about the fetch, and this guy is ridiculous. Please refrain from being a total dumbass in all future videos, and I hope one day you fail and become a professional Walmart greeter. I could be a Walmart greeter. You guys think I could be a Walmart greeter? I think that'd be kind of fun to be a Walmart greeter. Hello, welcome to Walmart. My name is Timmy. Alright. I can't decide if I like this Rudy guy or not. He is what's wrong at modern times. He clearly lives in his parents' basement. Why does everyone... What's with parents in basements? Is that really a stereotype? Anyway, this guy clearly lives in his parents' basement and plays with Jell-O all night. You know, I would actually play with Jell-O. I would rub it all over myself and fondle myself with Jell-O. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Hashtag Creepy Rudy. This guy is clearly a shop owner who owns businesses and has clearly failed with all of his investments in businesses. Now he's salty, he's triggered, and he's trying to do a pump and dump on the internet just like he pumps and dumps his mom.
It only cost my soul.
That's just a good one. That's a good one. I got nothing bad to say about that. The pump and dump on the business and then the analogy to the mom, that's just go. I gotta recognize talent when I see it. Rudy! This is my last comment, by the way. Rudy, wow, your videos suck so bad. How about a little less drama, a little less sign, a little less walking away from the camera, and a lot more facts in your videos, a lot more editing in your videos, a lot more scripts in your videos, and you actually act like a professional, and one day, if you're lucky, your channel will grow and you will actually get 1,000 subscribers maybe in 10 years, and your videos might actually get more than 1,000 views apiece. Hashtag loser. Rule D with Alpha Investments. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I go back to playing video games. And remember, Soviet Union is successful. We are not fallen empires. You guys have a great day.
What is going on, everyone? Jeremy here from MTG headquarters, and I've got a little treat, a good old-fashioned box opening to keep everyone's thirst quenched. Today I have 108 booster packs. The first 36.
Is Dragon Ball Z overrated? Dragon Ball Z is one of the most widely successful and accepted international phenomenons and probably the most famous Japanese anime series ever. You could make an argument about Pokemon and a few others, but without a doubt, DBZ is one of the only shows that is internationally beloved. But some people think it doesn't deserve to be. And others actually do believe that it's the best anime of all time. But on this video, we're going to take an unbiased look. And yes, I know I'm a Dragon Ball channel, but still, I'm going to take an unbiased look at this question and come up with the best possible answer for all of you. Let's go. So is Dragon Ball Z overrated? Yes, I know this is a Dragon Ball channel, but I want to look at this from a very objective perspective, and I want to talk about whether or not the series is overrated. Now, before you leave your comments, I would encourage you to please, listen to our discussion first and then give your thoughts. And also, I want to let you guys know this is actually one half of a two-part discussion where on my channel, we're talking about is DBZ overrated, and on his channel, the man who I'm about to introduce right now, we're talking about is Dragon Ball underrated. So please welcome my partner in crime for this video. Like I said, check out his channel. I will leave a link down below for you to check out the Is Dragon Ball Overrated or Is Dragon Ball Underrated video. Please welcome the Frozen Particle. Hello.
Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Happy to be here, man.
Yes, with your infamous intro. So let's talk about DBZ being overrated, alright? Now, Dragon Ball Z is hugely popular. It actually, inspired people to do great things. It's a very influential series, but is it really the best anime ever? And first of all, yes or no question, Nathan, is DBZ the best and we're talking about just Z, okay? Just want to clarify this. We're not talking about Dragon Ball GT or Super, just Z. Nathan, is Dragon Ball Z, in your opinion, the best anime of all time?
No.
Okay, now, the reason why I asked that is because a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans do consider it to be the best anime of all time, even though they've only seen a handful of anime. And I'm always of the opinion that if you're going to compare one show to another show of its ilk, you need to at least see a substantial portion of its competitors. So if you've seen Yu Yu Hakusho, if you've seen a bunch of Gundams, if you've seen, you know, Full Metal Alchemist, which Full Metal Alchemist is also considered by many to be the best anime ever, then if you say DBZ is the best or is your personal favorite, I mean, your favorite, it's all about opinion, but as far as it being the best, like as far as overall quality start to finish, I also don't think it's the best, but if you do, it's okay. So that kind of answers the question about it being, you know, I guess overrated by some. However, I feel, Nathan, that a lot of the anime snobs, and what I mean by that is the anime fans who just don't like Dragon Ball, and they are out there, I think it's the opposite. So what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think that Dragon Ball Z is sort of underrated when it, in terms of, like, the anime snobs dissing it, because it's done great things, it's helped people so much, and maybe it's not the best anime in the world, like, nothing's perfect, but it's done good things to people, it's built careers, you know, it's made Toriyama a lot of money, even though he was a millionaire before with Dr. Slump. But yeah, is it the best anime? No, but I think it's certainly not overrated just because a few anime snobs, you know, say it sucks compared to other anime.
Yeah, and the thing about anime snobs that does kind of piss me off, that knock on Dragon Ball, is yes, Dragon Ball obviously is not perfect. There's a lot of flaws here. There's animation mistakes. There are plot holes. There are story contrivances. It drags on a lot. Nobody's going to sit here and say that Dragon Ball Z is a perfect series. You just can't say that. There's a lot of problems with it, but I think that a lot of anime snobs, one thing that does irritate me is that a lot of them got into anime because of Dragon Ball. They basically became anime hipsters. They started watching Dragon Ball as a kid, right? Then they graduated to more sophisticated, more thought-provoking anime. And there's nothing wrong with that, Nathan. If you get into movies by watching, I don't know, The Little Mermaid, and then later on in your life you start watching stuff like A Clockwork Orange and you start to appreciate that more, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel a lot of anime elitists forget that DBZ is what got them into it. They forget that DBZ is, that for many people, the gateway drug to anime, and I think that deserves respect. And I also think that in some ways, Nathan, DBZ is very underrated because a lot of people never pick up on the themes of the series. They don't pick up on some of the subtext. A lot of people just focus on, you know, the screaming and the muscles. That seems to be the perspective from those who have never seen the series, that DBZ is all screaming and muscles and long, drawn-out fights, and that is part of it, but they don't understand, like, the development of the characters, Vegeta's character arc, Gohan's character arc, the heartwarming and touching moments, all these things that make DBZ and really all of Dragon Ball special. I think that it's underrated in that aspect. However, I do think there are some people who are just DBZ fanboys who don't really watch other anime. Now, I am not an anime purist at all. I am mostly a Dragon Ball fan, but I cannot sit here and confidently say that Dragon Ball Z is the best anime because, first of all, I don't think that's true. Second of all, I don't think I have the knowledge of other anime to be able to say that. Like, if I watched a lot of anime, and I watch anime, but I'm saying if I watched, like, as much as, I don't know, let's throw some names out there, like Sawyer 7 Mage or some of these guys, Hail Zeon, who have, like, entire walls, Nathan, dedicated to different anime series, you know, then I could freaking make that comment. But I'm mostly just a Dragon Ball fan. But even as a Dragon Ball fan, I do think that DBZ may be a little bit overrated, but at the same time, I think it's also very underrated. I think DBZ should be seen by people who like stuff like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, because DBZ was like that before those shows even existed. Maybe not in terms of quality, but they're adaptations from books. They have recurring arcs and things like that. They sometimes struggle to keep up with the books and vice versa. So, you know what I mean? I think that I don't think DBZ is overrated, but Do you think that DBZ is overrated in comparison to other Dragon Ball series, like Dragon Ball, for example? Like, what do you think? How do you compare it to other shonen shows?
I think it is overrated because a lot of people say that Dragon Ball Z has the best fight scenes, and Dragon Ball Z's fight scenes are awesome, but they're not perfect. There is animation loops, like, you know, those GIFs on the internet, how it's just like looping animation of Dragon Ball Z fights. That's what Toei does, like they just cut corners with the animation a lot. So in comparison to other shonen, it's possibly overrated compared to other shonen, but in comparison to the other Dragon Ball series like GT, Super, and the original Dragon Ball, I think it's pretty... I don't think it's overrated yet, I don't think it's underrated either. It's sort of in its own bubble, and I think that's the way Dragon Ball Z should be sort of critiqued, because Toriyama, he doesn't intend to write high art, like he just intends to write a fun action-adventure story with lots of references to his favorite sort of movies and cultures. So, yeah, it shouldn't be considered like high art, you know?
Yeah, but in some ways, the guy really is a visionary. He really is a genius. I mean, he really is. When you look into, like, some of the references he pulls from and some of the real culture, Derek Padula has covered this extensively in his books, and I've covered it as well in Dragon Ball In Depth. Toriyama really is a genius mind, and you know what, dude? He started a lot of these other anime, like One Piece and Naruto and Bleach have taken influence from Dragon Ball. It's not even a joke, but that we're talking about all of Dragon Ball. DBZ itself, I do think, is overrated by many because they don't explore the rest of Dragon Ball or the rest of anime. However, I think it is underrated by those outside of the Dragon Ball fandom. I think that I always felt, Nathan, that if Dragon Ball had a really good dub when it first came out, and it was, you know, top notch, you know, if they didn't have these problems they had back then, good audio, and if they aired it on prime time, like after The Simpsons, I would say it would be hugely successful if they did that. I've always stuck to that, and I think it's true. I really do. So there you go. Anyways, folks, check out the Frozen Particles channel. We have the other half of the discussion, which is Dragon Ball underrated? Not Z, the original series. Is it too slept on? Nathan and I discussed it over there. Do you have anything else to say before we get out of here?
No, man, I think it's depending on where you're coming from and what type of fan you are to dictate the question, is Dragon Ball Z underrated and overrated? It really just depends.
Yes, that's exactly what we agree. We agree totally. And let us know your thoughts also. Try to look at it from an unbiased perspective, okay? Unbiased. You might have grown up a DBZ fanboy. Maybe you didn't. It's fine. Let us know what you think. Thank you so much. We'll talk to y'all down the road.
Be Quiet's new Pure Base 600 chassis fills a stout form factor using a structure that shrinks as much as possible while still supporting standard orientation ATX motherboards. This new $90 case focuses primarily on sound damping and quality materials, but misses a few points on cable management and thermal design. We'll talk through that in today's review of the new Be Quiet Pure Base 600 case. The most standout feature with this case, or maybe lack of a feature, is there are no RGB LEDs, and also no tempered glass. Now, technically, Be Quiet is planning a tempered glass version that will come out in March, and it'll be $10 more, but we are going to pretend that won't exist for now because, honestly, it's been tempered glass cases non-stop for 8 months, and I'm just going to cherish this non-tempered glass option for a moment. So this is a more standard case. It's back to the roots of a case, what a mid-tower would be. It's very simple. There's a steel structure, there are plastic panels, and then it has one feature, which in this case is noise damping. Aiding that noise damping, as you'll see in B-roll of the front panel, I'm sure, is the fact that this has very restrictive airflow, which, although not great for thermals, obviously, is good for noise emissions and controlling them. So we'll test the noise output and the cooling performance in today's review, looking at the GPU and CPU performance when under workloads that are a bit more stressful than normally. Cooling isn't a primary focus with this case, clearly, as you won't be getting much air through that front panel that we pointed out, and no air can exhaust out the top without adjusting the height of the panel. That said, The Be Quiet Pure Base 600 uniquely intends for its top panel to be user configurable to fit specific needs. In its stock configuration, the panel is pushed down and completely blocks top exhaust, consequently blocking noise and keeping it in for the most part. You can pop the top panel completely out, which does eliminate the purpose of the case, or you can follow Be Quiet's guide and elevate it by 1 notch in the little clips that exist on the underside of the panel. This grants some breathability while still offering control over sound waves escaping the box. As for stock cooling, Be Quiet ships the Pure Base 600 with 2 Pure Wings 2 fans pre-installed in front and rear positions. The front-mounted fan is oriented by default to split airflow between the video card and CPU coolers, maxing out its RPM around 1200. And again, there's limited airflow capabilities behind all these filters. So for filters, you can pull the front panel off, and there's a sort of mesh that's interlocked with another mesh, which is purely a dust slash noise thing, but really tight in the front for air intake. The bottom is reserved entirely for the power supply because it's a down-facing fan for the power supply. Very little height here from the table or the surface of whatever you put it on to the case. It's about an inch or so, which is okay, but because we're only pulling air in through the power supply anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. The power supply doesn't need that much space to breathe. It's not like we have a case fan down there. There's a rear exhaust position for a 120, pretty standard. Technically, you could mount stuff in the top of the case, but including radiators, but you would really have to take off that top panel to get any reasonable use out of it. Now you could offset it by 1 notch up, but as we'll see in our thermal test, it doesn't really change a whole lot in terms of cooling performance. It would be enough to force the air out of the case if you had an exhaust setup, but it's really just a noise thing. So that's what we've got for cooling options, not a whole lot. Noise options, there is foam padding on that side panel, the right, the left side panel, and the front panel has just, it's closed off, so no noise is getting out of there anyway. With regard to build features, the hard drive cages are interesting and remind us in some ways of an internal version of Thermaltake's old level 10 case, designed by BMW at the time. The cages in Be Quiet's Pure Base 600 mount to the chassis by 3 screws only, suspending HDDs from one side, that'd be the chassis mounting wall. These can be removed individually if not all are saturated, also kind of unique because you don't have to remove entire cages. And above those there are 2 non-modular fixed 5¼ inch bays for optical drive installation, or front panels, which is a rarity in today's case market. With regard to ease of installation, building in this case is similar to building in an NZXT S340 Elite, or S340 for that matter, or the Corsair 400C. They're all roughly the same size. Some are easier to build in than others, like the S340 Elite, which we praised for its excellent cable management. This does not have that. The ATX form factor support means that if you do in fact install an ATX form factor motherboard, the bottom of the board is going to be right against the power supply, eliminating usage of some of the cable pass-throughs, and then the right side of the board will be covering, or partially or entirely, some of the pass-throughs in the middle of the motherboard tray. So that's a big issue with the Pure Base 600. Because of the way the case is configured, again, the primary pass-throughs for cabling end up being in the drive cage area, although there's one pass-through that's usable near the optical drive bays and the 24-pin power header. Fortunately, Be Quiet did also get its EPS 12-volt pass-through placement correct, accommodating the left side and centered placement alike. This is particularly good for motherboard users with additional power headers for overclocking, although that seems unlikely given the price of this case. If you're planning to use ATX in the case, be aware again that it'll feel like the entire thing should be about 1 inch longer and maybe ½ inch taller to better route the cables. The upshot of Be Quiet's design is that the backside does have the usual cable tie anchors, so once you've got things managed and routed, it's not too difficult to tie them down. That said, the SSD cages are pretty tight against that side panel wall and its foam, so do be careful that you don't snap the SSD headers once you've got it connected. All parts of the case, both the steel and the plastic components, are fairly rugged and durable. There's an exception of the plastic top cover, which isn't stable on our review sample when it's at its full height, and everything fit together pretty well. There were no unintentional gaps between the side panel and the case. That's a good thing considering it's noise focused, and all the paneling lined up for a flush fit, unlike some of the cheaper cases on the market. Be Quiet has impressed us in the past with the quality of their materials and machining, as we've seen previously with the silent base cases and the dark base case, and the 600 is no exception despite its price. The top cover can either be pressed flush to the case or lifted 1 or 2 notches above it for airflow, but its stability at maximum height depends on whether all the plastic tabs are at the same angle. Not a huge deal, since snapping the cover down 1 notch locks it in firmly, but both side panels must be removed in order to adjust this cover. Kind of a pain, and it can't be done on the fly. You probably want to shut down to do that every time. This isn't like the old Rosewell Throne, where you can flip a switch and latch them up or down. We're particularly pleased to see that the front I/O connectors and buttons are mounted directly to the chassis and the frame rather than the front panel, so you don't have to deal with wires and untangling them when removing the paneling. There's also less of a chance of pushing connectors out of place, of course. Speaking of front I/O, it only includes 2 USB 3.0 plugs and no 2.0 at all, so if you're running some older AM3 platform with no USB 3 support, then maybe don't get this case or get an adapter. This is possibly necessary given the size of the panel, but I guess it's more of a move forward and be quiet trying to get away from USB 2.0. Getting into the thermal and noise testing, as always, if you're curious how we do this, hit the link in the description below for the testing methodology and Patrick Lathan's full review. He ran the tests and worked with the case the most. So we've got all that defined there. The very basics, we're using delta T numbers for temperatures, which means that we have a thermocouple reader that's actively monitoring the internal ambience of the case, which is really only used for an ambience chart, and that probe is placed sort of triangulated between the front intake fan, the CPU fan, and the GPU fan. Sits right there in the middle of them. Now in some cases that makes temperatures look really bad, like the Inwin case where there's no front intake, the 805 Infinity. But that's where one of them goes. The other one monitors the environment temperature, the room temperature, more or less, and that's what we use for our delta T value, which again you can read about in the description below. And so something had to be sacrificed for silence on a budget. The number one thing on that list was airflow. Front intake is through 2 filtered slits on either side of the panel, and that's it. Bottom intake is reserved for the PSU, as discussed. The cover is impractical to adjust at the top when the system is running, and so users are forced to make a decision between silence and cooling, and presumably you would choose silence since you're buying a case from a company called Be Quiet! Exclamation point. Testing with the top panel open versus closed, and with the same fan RPM between each test, we're seeing a difference of about 1.6 Celsius load, or about 4 to 5 Celsius idle. Considering we're brushing against 90°C territory when factoring ambient back in, it's clear we're going to need more than better top ventilation to improve thermals with our test configuration. Stock, the PureBase 600 outperforms Inwin's fanless 303 case and a single fan 805 Infinity, which is really not a particularly ringing endorsement. You could completely remove the top cover, but you'd still be limited at the intake level, and you'd then be exiting the only use case for this chassis, which is reduced noise. Just a reminder, our temperature testing for cases puts it under a worst case scenario. So we're looking at 100% GPU and CPU load. That's not common or really active in any type of gaming for the most part, but the test is designed to stack cases hierarchically based on their cooling performance only, and that's all we need to know. So what we learned from that, this case is worse than the others at cooling. That's what we want to know. Now in terms of real world scenarios, you probably won't be as hot as we're seeing here unless doing some sort of 24/7 rendering or long render workloads where you might have the GPU and the CPU crunching on frames from 2 different directions. You wouldn't want to do that in this type of case. And then overclocking, anything where you're pushing a CPU to 150, 170 watts and beyond is definitely going to be a bit toasty in here. You might want to look elsewhere for an enclosure. This is not something you would buy for cooling performance. You maybe would look to Corsair 400C for that, similarly priced, much better at cooling, but not this. Now in terms of the use cases, that's all going to be in noise, which we'll get into next. And then just a quick side note here, because it is a $90 case, it's more likely that purchasers would probably be on something like a 1060, maybe 1070 Max, and those are going to be a bit cooler than some of the high-end cards that would be more overclock focused. And so let's take a look at noise. This is where Be Quiet undoubtedly specializes. The PureBase 600 really comes into its own in acoustic tests in ideal conditions with fans turned all the way down, which you probably wouldn't really want to run like that too often other than idle. And with the top cover closed, the 600 is the quietest case we've used in our current batch of tests. This is impressive, if only because it's quieter than the stock Inwin 303, which does not have any fans included at all, and that's entirely thanks to the sound damping panel design of the Be Quiet case, which is containing the noise of our GPU fan and our CPU fan. With both the 120mm fans at the maximum 1160 RPM and with the top cover open, at least by one notch, noise peaked at 34.2 dBA, making it slightly quieter than the NZXT S340 Elite with its two 120mm fans running at 1050 RPM. We may do some future testing on how much Be Quiet's acoustic padding directly affects noise in the A/B testing, but for now it seems like it's really doing the job it's advertised to perform. Be Quiet's done well to design a case that excels in one category, being quiet. Compared to nearby competition, it's clearly better in the acoustics department. If that's the thing you care about, this is a good place to start looking. It is both visually and aurally discreet. The outside really doesn't look like much of anything. It looks kind of like an old Dell computer you might find stuff in a corner somewhere. So that's a valid thing to want. If you want that, there you go. I guess it's there. In this way, it is sort of similar to some of the fractal design cases, which are often noise focused and discretion focused in terms of visuals. So this would be in the similar price category for some of the fractal cases. You may want to look there for options alternative to this. In terms of cooling, again, if cooling is going to be a problem for your build, don't buy this, because if you are planning to run multi-GPU, instantly you're going to run into problems with temperatures and with clock rates being more limited thermally than by anything else, almost certainly. And then if you're looking at running things like higher temperature M.2 SSDs under steady state workloads, pretty uncommon for our user base, but a possibility. You're going to be generating more heat on the board, and it's going to have trouble getting rid of that heat. Even though thermal throttling on SSDs isn't that common, generally just dumping a bunch of heat into a case like this is not a good idea because it heats everything up. So those would be the things to avoid for this case. Less temperature intensive things are fine. If you want visual and noise discretion, this is the place to look. As for competition that wasn't present in our test, either because we don't have it or haven't gotten to it yet, we'd recommend looking into fractal design for alternatives in the noise space, and then we may start working on some of their cases in the near future. The Corsair Q series cases like the 400Q rather than the 400C would also be worth looking into as they ditch the windowed side panel in favor of a noise damping side panel. And then Silverstone's got a couple offerings out there too, though not too many that are current. Even though its competitors will have difficulty coming close to what Be Quiet's done for noise, at $90 this is a reasonable buy. It's really one of the few products that we've reviewed in the past couple months that I can actually say the price seems fitting. That's pretty rare. Normally these things come out a bit high and then the manufacturers just step them down later. In this instance, or this case, it's really not bad. 90 bucks is pretty okay. $100 for a tempered glass version, if you wanted it, I guess will exist. I don't know that I'd buy it. I'd have to see what the tint is like and things like that. But this case is really for being quiet. Tempered glass, you're not going to have a whole bunch of noise escaping, I would hope, depending on how they implement it. But it does just kind of seem like a weird combination. Sticking with this is a good one. Tempered glass, maybe not. So Be Quiet, overall, not the thickest steel, not the most robust plastics in the world for this case, but at $90, they are fair to use. If you're interested in learning more about the enclosure, you can read Patrick Lathan's full review, link in the description below. Hit the Patreon link in the post-roll video, or go to patreon.com/GamersNexus to help us out directly. GamersNexus.net for the site. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.
Well played. I did. Well played.
When preparing for the KB Lake launch prior to embargo lift, the i3-7350K had us the most interested for Intel's upcoming platform. The 7350K is the first overclockable i3 that Intel has shipped to
Hey everybody, it's D again, and I'm bringing you the first edition of Dragon Ball Geekdom Q&A, edition number 1, April 3rd, 2015. Even though this might go up on April 4th, it doesn't matter. User Tenezel, I think I'm pronouncing that right, asked me some questions, and I'm down to answer questions. I love talking Dragon Ball. I could talk about it all day. And so he asked me 3 questions, and I was going to respond in the thread. I was gonna respond via text, but I figure let me just make a video out of it, and then we could discuss these things, and then that'll lead to more videos, and everybody's happy because I know that I'm happy when I talk about Dragon Ball. So, Tinizil says the following. Let's go through them right now. 3 questions. Number 1. Well, first he says, I just want to get your opinion on a couple things. Number 1. What are your general thoughts towards GT? Do you consider it canon or not? So, I'm planning on doing a video soon called, and I don't know how soon it'll be, but I'm planning on doing a Dragon Ball in-depth video. 5 good things about Dragon Ball GT. Because there are good things about it. GT, I've never considered Dragon Ball GT canon, ever, because it's not. No matter which way you slice it, there's a lot of inconsistencies in Dragon Ball GT and a lot of plot holes. And unfortunately, with the last couple of years of Toriyama, with Dragon Ball Minus and now Fakatsu no F, there's a few more plot holes. So maybe plot holes aren't the biggest defense towards GT not being canon anymore. But let's pretend, let's go back to before Battle of Gods came out, right? Let's just go back to 1997 when GT ended, or 2005 when GT ended in the US. I've never considered it canon. It was not part of the original 42-volume manga, or was it adapted from there. It was not written by Toriyama. However, Toriyama did design many of the characters in Dragon Ball GT. So, as a result of him designing these characters, it doesn't make it canon, but he is involved. So, no, it's not canon, and especially now with Battle of God and Fakatsu no F, it can't be canon. It just cannot be canon. Unless there's a third movie that comes out that somehow connects Z to GT, which Toriyama's not going to do. I don't think so. It's not happening. Also, I remember there was an interview that came out right after Battle of Gods a couple of years ago where I forget the individual's name from Toei. Who was? I don't remember his name. Might have been, I don't think it was Koyama, but somebody from Toei actually came out and said GT no longer exists. It's no longer canon. Now, what I thought would be a cool idea, I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on this in the comment section. What if GT is one of the 12 alternate universes that Beer spoke of? Maybe it's not 12 totally different universes. Maybe there are some similarities, and maybe GT is a separate universe. And wouldn't it be cool? And this is a little wacky, but wouldn't it be cool if we actually saw like Super Goku 4 or Super Gogeta 4 fighting against some of the people like Beerus or something like that? Like if they do like a video game about that, that'd be pretty cool. But no, just to answer the question, GT is not canon. What do I think about it? For years, I absolutely hated GT because I didn't like what it did to the characters at all, and the characters are completely wrong in GT. One thing about Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F is that Toriyama's got the characters down right, but the GT crew, the writing team, just didn't do it. Also, there's a lot of episodes of GT that are really boring. That entire first arc where we're looking for the Black Star Dragon Balls, there's a reason as to why Funimation skipped the first like 15, 16 episodes and went right to episode 17 and then came out with the first ones that's quote unquote the lost episodes. They weren't lost, they were hidden. You get what I'm saying? Because throughout the world, especially in Japan, those episodes totally tanked. Just completely tanked. I like some things about those episodes, like Legic, and there's some cool stuff here and there, but for the most part, it is kind of boring. The Super 17 saga I thought was kind of fan servicey, in my opinion, and a little too much if you ask me. And the Dark Dragons or whatever, the Shenlongs, I love the way they were designed, but I thought that it was a little bit uncreative for the first, I would say, first half or so of that saga, because Goku keeps beating them with very basic, like a Kamehameha and like the Dragon Punch, like that's it. Like, you know, it was very lazy, if you ask me, very rushed also, because by then the show was coming to an end. However, I love the fight with Goku when he gets blinded. I thought that was cool. That was something new that they had not done in Dragon Ball until then, where Goku was awesome. Of course, Gogeta was awesome. Everybody loves Gogeta. And I actually really like Baby. I love